Arkansas Secretary of State Cole Jester is a lifelong Arkansan and constitutional lawyer who has been involved in tackling many of Arkansas's most pressing issues. As Secretary of State, Jester is focused on intentional service to the people of Arkansas through promoting election security and streamlining corporate filings. Let's give a warm welcome to Cole Jester.
I'm Cole Jester. I'm serving as Arkansas's 35th Secretary of State. Governor Sanders appointed me this January. Thank you for having me. I just want to say I think it does reflect on something that we all get questions about. It's easy to get a little down and say, doesn't matter who's in office, doesn't really matter. I think realtors tend to know that it does, whether that be from government regulation that goes too far, whether it be that doesn't go far enough, whether it be creating the economic conditions that allow an area to thrive, like what we're seeing in this part of the state. It actually does matter that you have good people in office. So what does the Secretary of State's office do, and what have we done in the past 6 to 10 months? First, and this is what we get the most questions about, we're in charge of our state's elections. So in Arkansas, we have 75 counties that in some ways each run their own elections, but establishing the standards and the security that make sure we have strong elections happens in the Secretary of State's office. Going back to who's in office matters, one of my greatest pride and joy accomplishments in the past year is that Arkansas has gone, we've always had good elections. We have gone from number 8 in the country as far as our national ranking and how secure our elections are, how hard it is to cheat, to number 1 in the country in the last 6 months, which is pretty special. They thought, Tennessee was the person to beat. I'm sure we all have that competition in our life. And they said, you can get to second, it's possible. Arkansas will never beat Tennessee. But if we can't beat the Volunteers in football, we'll at least beat them in running our elections. And that will take several different things, but good common sense measures. This year we've accessed the Social Security death file so that they can give us updates when people die. We can make sure they're not still on the voter rolls. Obviously they're not going to vote, but still when you have an accurate number of the number of voters in your community, it allows us to do good government well. We've connected with credit reporting agencies, which I'm sure normally when you're hearing credit report, take them off. We've worked with a new administration to, for the first time, get immigration records to make sure that people aren't accidentally registering to vote when they're trying to get a driver's license or when they're trying to do something else and they're not a U.S. citizen. We now have the ability to go make sure that everyone on our rolls is a U.S. citizen, and we're actually able to send out notice last week. We're currently in the process of sending it to 240 people who weren't U.S. citizens but who were registered to vote. And we think the most common way that happens is at the driver's license office. They just get registered automatically, not realizing what they're signing. And we want to make sure that we have things where it is very, very easy to vote in Arkansas and very, very hard to cheat. And one thing I felt is that we have made tremendous progress in the last 10 years and hadn't got the national credit we deserved. And we are very proud now to be the #1 state in the country for election security. As well, we handle something that many of you might be a little bit more involved with on a day-to-day basis, which is Arkansas's business filings. When you're starting an LLC or a corporation, when you're starting, whether it be a partnership or the different corporate structures you have, whether that's because you're carrying on business, whether that's because you're holding land or property, whether that's because you're trying to make a deal happen that can bring jobs to the state, we are the piece of government you touch so that you can start your business. The way I love to explain it to 5th graders is, you file a piece of paper with us, and then if your business goes south, if when you're mowing your neighborhood, if you hit something you're not supposed to, this is what's going to protect your assets and your family life. But something that had happened over the past few years, and something I will say is entirely y'all's fault, the business boom in Arkansas meant we're getting more filings than ever. It's an incredible problem to have. The number of new businesses in Arkansas had doubled in 10 years, the number of new businesses starting every year. And with the same amount of staff, it started to be where if you're going to start an LLC or a corporation in Arkansas, it was taking 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. And I felt like that was unacceptable. And one of the big things we did when we took over is I tried to cut fat where fat could be cut, and I moved into that business filings department where now it's not taking 3 weeks. This year we've cut it down from about 3 weeks to, for most of the time, the same day. and not the same day, the next day. I like my people, they're sitting there waiting by the fax machine or the email or the software, waiting for the filing to come out so we can start working on it immediately and get it done, because that's how we tell people that in Arkansas, we don't know where you came from, but when you come here, we're a business first state, and we're gonna fight to make sure that stays our path. We are not going to be worried about the past, we're going to be worried about the future, making it easy to do business, making this a rule of law state, a state with lower taxes each and every year, and a state that is focused on growth, which you all know oh so well. The third really special thing we get to do in the Secretary of State's office is we maintain our Arkansas State Capitol. I know many of you probably have some pretty good properties in your portfolio. I like mine better. We have this incredible state. How many of you have been to the Arkansas State Capitol? So if you haven't, I want to encourage you to come. It's open to the public every day. And here's what we have. In 1915, Arkansas was a very poor state. Every dollar the government spent was truly a sacrifice. And they built a capitol not situated just for them, but huge and beautiful and special, knowing that they might not see all the benefits of it, but knowing that their grandkids and their great-grandkids, they were leaving a legacy of marble, so that when someone comes to our state capitol, they're not thinking, when they think about, they're not thinking of what government is, they're thinking about what it can be. And it lifts us up even in just its architecture. And it's beautiful, it's ordered, it's structured, and it tells us what kind of government Arkansans expect. And when those fifth graders come in my office, when they tour that capitol, I tell them, do not think about this as just a building. How many of you know the names of your great-great-grandparents whose tax dollars paid for this building? No one ever has. But they have given you a physical legacy you can enjoy as your birthright today, and that is what legacy is about. So when you walk around the Capitol, think about what is the legacy we're leaving for 3-4 generations down the road. People who won't know our names, but we can pass down institutions, maybe organizations like this one, where we have the structure for it to be a society that grows and that flourishes. And then finally, something I've thought about more every single day since taking office, we have the job of protecting our state capitol. I don't know if you all have been watching the news. That job has not gotten less important this last year. Violence is on the uptick, and what we have seen is that it can happen anywhere. We get threats at the Capitol, and we have started many ways to making our Capitol safer, whether it is, I don't know, maybe don't put this on the internet, but we got our first bomb dog coming in this week, whether that's sending our officers to enhance training, whether that's vehicle barriers, whether that is things as simple as making sure that for a tour, or you are the governor, you have the right to be safe when you are petitioning your government. And there are people who do not want Arkansans and do not want Americans to have that safety and that feeling, and we're going to fight to make sure they do. But if I would challenge you, when you come to the Capitol, we have beefed up security. We are trying to be the most paranoid people in the room, but when you come, you don't feel that at all. And that's how it should be. You shouldn't be thinking, man, I'm in a place where I could be harmed. You should be thinking, man, I'm in a place that's the safest place you can be in Little Rock. I know some of y'all might not come to Little Rock. When you're at the Capitol, it's safe, I promise. I know Northwest Arkansas people are big. You don't have to lock the door, people. My aunt, she lives up here. She works at the VA. She tells me that all the time. But we have left in a very short time. I have 2 years. I'm running for land commissioner because I only have, and I know many of y'all are involved with land commissioner type things more than Secretary of State type things. I'm here as Secretary of State. I don't want to necessarily talk about campaign things, but I'm happy to answer questions. But we have left in 1 year a legacy in everything we touch that you can perform with excellence, and the job you do can impact people's lives. It can make it easier to start a business. It can make people tangibly safer. It can make sure our capital that is passed down in the state we got it. It can make sure that we can work to restore the trust in our elections and to say there are other places that are having problems and legitimate problems. And it's just not Arkansas because we've done things the right way and we've tried to pass down doing things the right way. And that's what legacy is for me. And I know that here, y'all have a legacy that is in so many ways even more important. whether that's setting people up in a neighborhood where they can thrive, whether making what is oftentimes, as y'all have seen, we bought our first home, during the COVID craziness, can be one of the most stressful times for people, a time they never forget. Making it calm, making it seamless, making it an experience that they don't dread so much, but that they can say, I have someone in my corner, I have someone who watches my back, and I have someone who tells me sometimes hard truths about a house, even when I would rather not listen to it. I know we've all been guilty of that. So all I'm saying is, you have a friend at the Capitol, you have many. We're here to support you. We're here to help you thrive. I'm happy to take a few questions if anyone has some time, but I'm just honored to be here. Thank you for having me as your guest, and thank you for the service you are obviously connecting to do for this community. Thanks, guys.
What about paper ballots? You think we'll go back to that?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I mean, because it means different things to different people. The first thing it could mean is, when you vote, are you voting just digitally where it's all on a computer, or is there a paper? I'm sure some of y'all have to do the audits, but what we call it is an auditable paper voting trail. And I think that is absolutely essential, because my concern, if something does happen to the computers, if it's all online, there's no way to go and see what happened. If we have a paper trail, then we can go back and make sure everything happened. And that's what makes something like a recount actually work and not just be an exercise in futility. So for example, when you vote in Arkansas, at Little Rock, they do a mix. Here, I think y'all all use touchscreens. You'll touch your selections. It'll print a ballot in ink. You'll stick it in a box. The thing I really like about our voting system compared to how some other states do it is that the only human being who touches your ballot before it's counted is you, versus in some states that have gone, for example, like 100% mail-in. You can try to do it as good as you want, but there's just a lot of people touching your ballot. In Arkansas, it's just you. So I think having that piece of paper where it's not just computers talking to each other, we have to have that, or it's not secure. There's the separate question of, should you have the touch screens, or should you fill in your ballot with a pen or a marker? And I think you can absolutely do either very securely, and I think there are legitimate pros and cons to both. The pro to touching the touch screen is you don't have the hanging chads. What happens sometimes is people, imagine you're voting for a bunch of judges. They'll bubble in 2 judges who are running for the same position, and it will throw out their ballot. If you're using the touchscreen, it'll make sure you're voting one person for each position. You can do that, and it can be secure. You can also do it with ink and be secure. And the last part is, does that mean we don't use machines to count the ballots? We count it by hand. In Arkansas, you have a right to do it either way, and counties get to pick that, and we will support people doing it either way. But doing it all by hand, in my experience, from what I've seen, the data I've seen, it's very, very difficult to do right, just because there's a lot of human error, and you get people who've been counting for 3-4 hours and they start to make mistakes. So it's very difficult to do right. The tabulators, who've never found one to make an error, it's kind of like the machine the bank uses to count the money. If you've seen a teller use that, it's very good at counting. So on those 3 different sides, it goes from essential, can do either way, possible but hard, if that makes sense.
You said that Arkansas is #1 in the nation for election security. How is that measured?
Yeah, so there's this organization called the Heritage Foundation, and they do something called a scorecard, and they have 100 things they ask you to do. So a few of them, some are like voter ID. It might be different things they want you to have that you get a check mark if you do it. Some things, like for example, the majority of the things are bipartisan. I think like if you go to the lowest score in the state, Heritage is very conservative. But if you were to go to California or Massachusetts, they still score, they're doing 60 out of the 100 things. The big things we kind of adjusted. So it's very niche things that on their own, I think don't make a huge difference, but it's a cumulative effect. Like one point we were missing that we got this year is federal courts, if you're serving on a jury, you can't be on a jury if you're not a citizen. You get a point if you have an agreement with federal courts that if they remove someone from a jury for being a non-citizen, they'll tell you so you can take them off the voting rolls, because that's how they're getting their jury list. So like that by itself isn't going to secure your elections, but it's a tiny piece. Another thing is getting access to the immigration data so you can see if the people on your rolls are a citizen. That's a couple points. Having a process where you can audit counties to make sure they're following voter maintenance, that gets you a couple points. And it's a bunch of little bites, and some of the really big things that they value, every state does. So now it's a matter of getting those tiny little points. And when you add them all up, it does make it more secure. Thank you. This is something like talking about Arkansas has done a good job. 2 years before I came into office, they passed a law giving the State Board of Election Commissioners the ability to enforce procedures. So if you think what is happening is illegal, is not following proper procedures, you can file a complaint with the State Board of Election Commissioners in Little Rock, and that's appointed. I get an appointment, the governor gets an appointment, the Democrats get an appointment, the Republicans get an appointment, and they investigate every complaint they get. So that was not the case 10 years ago, and it is the case now. And this was the second part of the question.
I was wondering about it, like a full care center.
And I actually totally agree that that was kind of a place where if you're trying to think where is giant fraud happening, but you're thinking what are our weak points, we passed a law this year that said if you are a worker at a nursing home and you're filling out someone's ballot who can't do it for themselves, they're saying I want to vote for this person, you're bubbling it in because maybe their hands aren't working great, you have to get another worker just to witness it. And we thought that was easy. The nursing homes didn't really object, the assisted livings, but that allowed us to help because we thought we don't have ironclad proof that's happening, but it's just common sense that it could be better. And that same way, if that was happening, then that is actually a criminal matter, and the Attorney General's Office of Election Integrity can investigate that from a criminal standpoint. So that's what we do.
Most challenging aspect of your job?
It's a great question. I'll be frank and candid. So if you are anyone in public office, 90% of people don't know who you are. 9% want you just to try to do the right thing, but they are never going to email you and they're never going to reach out. A lot of times it's trying to distinguish the people who are angry at the world, who maybe will threaten you, threaten your family. Those are the people who reach out. And I have a 1-year-old daughter, I have a wife at home. Their dreams were not to be politicians' wives or politicians' children, obviously. So the part where it gets like the personal attack, it can be challenging. But that's not really the hard part. The hard part is distinguishing what the broad base of people want and believe and desire in everything we do. And that's where I think it's good to just do stuff like this, because a lot of you, some of you have, a lot of you will never go to the Capitol, knock on my door. So we need to be coming and seeing how voters feel. And trying to manage that aspect, that's a challenging part. Maybe it's easy to get around the state if you're single, if you're retired, but with a family, for me it's hard. So that's why I'm so thankful that y'all invited me to come during the lunch. So I'm not, my wife isn't having to be with the baby by herself, so I can travel every night. When it's a day event like this, that's really special for me, so thank you.
All I just wanted me to announce just a big thank you for all the great turnout for our first ever annual, the Tech Summit Conference, which was great, well attended, really appreciate that. And also just an announcement, it's like every committee, we're looking for folks. We'd love to have you help out and join us. We'd love to have a seat at the table for you. Thank you.
Jeremy's going to come up here and talk about Special Olympics and do split the cash.
Let's do the money first. Who wants to pull the card?
I think she should pull it.
So we've got $150 to give out today. Oh, it's the split. I thought this was already split. Sorry, you guys are going to give it back to SOAR anyways, right? I'm just kidding. I don't feel obligated. Don't feel obligated. I've always said I'm not going to give it back if I ever win. Let me start putting my card in there. So, Isabel Harris. So we have raised almost $6,000 so far for the Special Olympics. That's amazing, in my opinion. You guys gotta clap for that. We've got a playing poll coming up this Saturday, so in a couple of days. See that right there? We are really shy of our goal So when that comes around, scan that QR code and dump your wallet into that account, if you don't mind. Our next event is our bingo night, and that is on December 5th. You guys, this is gonna be a family event. Everybody is welcome to attend. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's right there on your table. So there's no excuses if you missed that slide. But bingo's gonna be fun. You guys invite the family, invite the friends, invite your neighbors, and let's get as many people in here as possible because it's always a good time. So that's it. Thanks.
All right, it is hard to believe, but our holiday banquet is going to be tomorrow night. This has been a fast year. We are so excited. A lot of different things happening this year. And join us tomorrow night for NABOR After Dark. And if you haven't purchased a ticket yet, you can still get one today. Our doors are gonna open at 6:30 with music beginning at 7. We'll have heavy hors d'oeuvres, open bar. Yeah. That's worth your $50 right there. Because you would spend more than that if you were paying for one, just about. We're gonna have 10 $250 gift card drawings. And then we'll have the NABOR's 8 out of 11 meeting $1,000 drawing. And I would really like to thank all of our committee members. I know some of them aren't here today, but if you're on the committee and here today, please stand up. They have worked so hard this year. We're having the, they have worked. Chelsea's been on there helping on the committee too, and Crystal's been there many times helping. So we have had, we've got some others that are not here today, but we have worked really hard this year with kind of doing some new things. The event is going to be here in this building. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the committee is going to stay here after this meeting, and we're going to start transforming and getting some things out. So please, if you haven't already bought your tickets, please join us. And I would really like to thank our sponsors, Northwest Arkansas Media, Advantage Title Company, City Title Company, Arvest, MTC Title Company, NWA Residential Real Estate, On-Call Home Warranty, Gateway Mortgage, Next Home, NWA Pro Realty, Realty Title, Cole Banker, Harrison County Faucet, Lindsay and Associates, City Land Properties, and Waco Title Company. Thank you so much. We appreciate our affiliates so much for helping us and allowing us to do what we do. And we look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow night. It's going to be fun and amazing. Thank you.
As Kelsey said, this is my last meeting, and I just want to tell you, you all have been great. I appreciate your patience, your understanding, and your kindness for me all year. I have had a great time this year, and it's been my true privilege to be your president this year. Thank you so much. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn? A second. All in favor, you're out of here.